You didn't stop loving your son. You didn't stop caring. You didn't stop trying. If anything, you tried harder. You offered advice. You asked questions. You checked in. You worried out loud. And somehow, that's when he pulled further away. Not because you didn't care, but because you did. This is one of the most painful truths for parents to face. Sometimes, help doesn't feel like help. Sometimes, it feels like pressure. And most parents never mean it that way. Most parents ask the same question in different ways. Why won't he talk to me? Why does everything I say make it worse? I'm just trying to help. Why does he react like this? And here's the part that hurts. Your son may not be rejecting you. He may be reacting to how help feels inside his body. Because help can quietly turn into something else. It can feel like expectations, evaluation, judgment, pressure to be someone he's not ready to be, even when no judgment was intended. Here's the truth most parents never hear. Help is not neutral. It carries emotional weight. Especially for sons. To a son who already feels behind in life, unsure of himself, afraid of disappointing you, help can sound like a reminder of everything he hasn't figured out yet. So when you say, "I just want what's best for you," what he might hear is, "I don't trust where you are." Not because you said that, but because that's where his insecurity fills in the gaps. Many sons are raised with a quiet belief, "I am valued for what I can handle." So when help arrives too quickly, too often, or too intensely, it doesn't feel like support. It feels like confirmation. "You don't think I can do this." And for sons who already feel fragile inside, that hurts more than silence. So instead of saying, "That's not helping," they do something safer. They withdraw. If you've ever thought, why does every conversation feel like walking on glass? This is why. Because what feels like love on one side can feel like pressure on the other. And the more you push to close the distance, the more distance appears. But this doesn't mean the bond is broken. It means it's misunderstood. In the next part, we'll talk about something uncomfortable but necessary: how questions, advice, and even concern can accidentally turn into emotional surveillance. And why sons often go quiet not to rebel, but to protect what little sense of control they have left. Most parents don't realize when the shift happens. It starts gently. "How are you doing? Did you figure that out? What's the plan?" Normal questions. Caring questions. But when a son already feels overwhelmed, those questions don't land as curiosity. They land as spotlights. Every question feels like a progress report, a test he didn't study for, a reminder that time is passing. And when he doesn't have answers yet, silence feels safer than explaining uncertainty. Here's something most parents never hear: explaining where you are in life, when you don't like where you are, is emotionally exhausting. Because explanation invites opinions, suggestions, corrections, comparisons. So when a parent says, "Talk to me," "I just want to understand," what the son hears is, "If you talk, this will turn into fixing." And fixing implies something is broken. So instead of risking shame, he protects himself with quiet. Most parents don't say this directly, but sons feel it anyway. Have you applied yet? You're smart, you'll figure it out. You just need to push through. These words are meant to encourage. But to a son who already feels behind, they translate into, "Why isn't effort working for you? What's wrong with you? Others can do this, why can't you?" And shame doesn't motivate. Shame silences. You may have noticed this: the conversation starts fine. Then suddenly, he goes flat. Short answers. One-word replies. This isn't disrespect. It's overload. Inside, something like this is happening: if I keep talking, I'll disappoint them. If I keep talking, I'll lose control. If I keep talking, this will turn into advice. So his nervous system does what it knows how to do. It shuts the door. Not to punish you, to protect himself. If you've ever thought, he was talking, and then he disappeared, now you know why. It wasn't a decision. It was a reflex. And the more pressure he feels to perform emotionally, the harder it becomes to stay present. But pressure isn't always loud. Sometimes it hides inside love. In the next part, we'll talk about something deeply uncomfortable, but freeing. How parental fear quietly shapes conversations. How worry turns into urgency. Urgency turns into pressure. And pressure creates distance. And most importantly, how parents can stay connected without fixing, pushing, or chasing. Most parents don't push because they're controlling. They push because they're scared. Scared that time is running out. Scared their son will fall behind. Scared that silence means something is wrong. Fear speeds everything up. It shortens patience. It sharpens tone. It makes conversations feel urgent. And urgency changes how words land. What feels like concern to a parent can feel like panic to a son. When a parent feels afraid, they often do this without realizing it. They move the conversation toward outcomes. What's next? When will this change? How long will this take? But outcomes feel heavy to someone who's still trying to breathe. To a son who feels uncertain, urgency says, "You're already late. This isn't okay. You should be further by now." So even gentle concern begins to feel like control. And control, even loving control, creates resistance. This moment is rarely dramatic. It doesn't happen during yelling. It doesn't happen during big fights. It happens quietly. After being misunderstood one too many times, feeling evaluated instead of heard, explaining and still feeling wrong, there's a moment when a son thinks, talking doesn't make this better. And once that belief settles in, silence feels safer than hope. When parents feel the distance growing, they often chase connection harder. More check-ins, more questions, more advice. But to a son who already feels cornered, that chase feels like proof. I don't have room to figure this out. So he retreats further. Not because he wants distance, but because distance is the only place he can breathe. If you've ever wondered, why does trying harder make it worse? This is why. Connection can't be chased. It has to feel safe enough to return to. And safety doesn't come from fixing. It comes from presence. In the final part, we'll talk about something hopeful. What actually helps sons come back. Not strategies. Not scripts. Not pressure. But a shift in how presence is offered. And why doing less can sometimes rebuild more. When sons come back, it's almost never because they were convinced. It's because something felt different. Not louder. Not clearer. Not smarter. Different. The pressure was gone. The evaluation stopped. The space felt real. And in that space, something rare happened. They could finally breathe. Parents often ask, "What should I say to fix this?" But the deeper answer is uncomfortable. Sometimes, the repair happens because you stop trying to repair. Not because you don't care, but because care without control feels safe. Silence, when it's not withdrawn, becomes an invitation. There is one signal sons look for, often unconsciously. It's not agreement. It's not approval. It's this: I'm not trying to shape you right now. When sons sense that, they relax. Because for once, the relationship isn't a performance. Reconnection rarely begins with big conversations. It begins with small moments. A shared meal without advice. A comment without correction. A question without follow-up. Moments that say, "You're allowed to exist here as you are." And when sons feel that, they come closer on their own. Trust isn't rebuilt through explanation. It's rebuilt through consistency. Showing up the same way even when nothing happens. Not filling silence. Not chasing progress. Not asking for reassurance. Time does what words can't. Here's the hard truth. You cannot force closeness. And here's the relief. You don't have to. Your job isn't to pull your son back. It's to make the space gentle enough that coming back doesn't hurt. When sons finally speak again, it's often not dramatic. It might sound casual, unimportant, almost accidental. But it's not. It's a test. A quiet question: is it still safe here? And how you respond in that moment matters more than everything before it. Parents don't push sons away because they don't love them. They push because they care deeply and don't know how to step back. But stepping back is often the first step forward. If this video resonated, you're not alone. And neither is your son. Connection isn't gone. It's just waiting for safety to return. Subscribe if you want to understand what's really happening and how to reconnect.